We continue to struggle with workforce, particularly skilled workforce, which a lot of these projects require. Somebody has to have a certain set of skills, whether it be a plumber, electrician, whatever the case might be. But yes, and that's why, in some respects, why we have to bring people from outside the area to do some of these jobs, because we just don't have the number of subcontractors and the workforce locally to deal with a lot of them.
I'm Cristina Janney with the Hays Post and Eagle Radio, and I'm speaking with Doug Williams of Grow Hays about development projects in Hays on this episode of the Hays Post podcast.
We did go on a tour, and I think everybody on it that doesn't get out into the community a lot, into the various spots, were quite surprised by the number of projects. But there is a tremendous amount of construction activity taking place in Hays right now, starting with the obvious one, the school bond, which was a $143 million school bond, which will touch virtually every school in the USD 489 school district. But also the university has the Forsyth Library and the athletic facility projects that are going to be getting started here pretty quick. We, of course, recently completed our microfactory project. The Ellis County shop, I call it the shop, the maintenance building north of town is under construction. We will be starting on our community center very soon on Canterbury. We're having a groundbreaking on July the 11th on that one. And then you start talking about things like NCK is going to do an expansion on campus of a structure. Astra Bank is going to build a building at the corner of 27th and Main. 24/7 is going to put a travel plaza at exit 157 in Hays. Vernie's Truck is building a building on the old sale barn location. That's under construction. Worth Plumbing and Heating is building a building on East 13th Street. And they're starting the process of remodeling the old downtown bank building at 12th and Main, which has been an eyesore for decades in this community.
Yeah, there's some planning meetings coming up here very quickly on the Chestnut building. That's going to be an Airbnb style hotel.
It is.
And we're going to have some more on that on the post here pretty quickly. A lot of these projects are bringing extra employees into town. The bond project alone at the high school is anticipated to bring maybe a couple of hundred extra employees into town just this summer. So how does that have an effect on our local economy when we have more employees in town than we normally do?
Well, these projects really in a couple different ways. One is that they do employ a lot of local firms to do subcontract work, whether it be electrical, plumbing, heating, those type of things. But yes, it also brings people from out of town in, and they have to find lodging. So they have to stay in either hotel or Airbnb or rent someplace. They buy meals here. They go to the grocery store here. They may go to the store and buy clothing and that kind of thing. So lots and lots of residual effects from all of this activity that's going on. They say, when a dollar is spent in a community, it multiplies anywhere from 5 to 7 times. Well, when you take all these projects and they total up, I think, well in excess of $200 million, that's a significant impact that goes on.
Do you have any attendance for the microfactory yet? We haven't had an update on that in a while.
Got a few tire kickers, but no tenants yet. We're still talking to a number of people. The challenge there is it has to fit a pretty specific area of need. They need to be a growing company. They need to require only X amount of space. They need to be kind of compatible with other potential tenants in there. So we're having to be a little bit selective, and that slows down the process. But we're talking to a few people, and I think we're going to get some activity here this summer.
One of the projects that we didn't mention is that there's road construction going on up on the bypass to realign the road that goes to the fair and the fairgrounds, and that all is going on too.
Yes, for sure. That's a big project. I think that was $30 million in itself, and it'll be new on and off ramps there. They're going to widen the bridge and reroute that road to the fairgrounds to kind of go through the Intersys property. A much safer alternative now, because the other one was so close to the exit ramp coming from the west that sometimes people got confused and ended up going down the exit ramp the wrong way, and that's a bad situation.
Yeah, and another thing, once the Astra Bank project is completed, then there's going to be some remodeling work at the current Astra Bank location for the city. City is going to be in there with their law enforcement center.
Yes, the police department will relocate to the existing Astra Bank building. Obviously, that will take a fair amount of remodeling. They're still saving a lot of money over what it would have cost them to build a new facility, but they will be relocating there, and it's Astra Bank's intent to not only construct a bank at the corner of 27th and Main, but potentially also some retail space and some office space. So that project is potentially larger than just a bank on the corner.
Do you think this is going to put a strain on our employment situation? Because we continue to have very low unemployment out here in Northwest Kansas.
It already has. You know, we continue to struggle with workforce, particularly skilled workforce, which a lot of these projects require. You know, somebody has to have a certain set of skills, whether it be a plumber, electrician, whatever the case might be. But yes, and that's why, in some respects, why we have to bring people from outside the area to do some of these jobs, because we just don't have the number of subcontractors and the workforce locally to deal with a lot of them.
How do you think this is going to affect the housing situation? If we have more people coming in to rent or need to be at least temporarily housed, we already have a housing situation here anyway.
It will continue to put a strain on that. You know, a lot of these people are temporary that come from out of town, obviously. So they'll be either in hotels or Airbnbs or rent homes for a period of time. But we'll continue to have a strain on that. But just last week, we went down and looked at Mike Graham's new project south of, or to the west of Washington School. His first 11 units are complete, and he'll be finishing up another 22 units by August. And so we are bringing some additional housing online. Ellis Estates continues to get closer to being done, so there is some activity in that area to provide some additional housing as well.
Yes, those units at 4th and 4th, that's going to be another 48 units that are going to come on.
Well, there's 33 units at 4th and 4th.
Oh,
there's
okay.
48 units 48 that he intends to build on West 10th Street,
okay,
which we call the Depot Project. That's the property where the train depot used to be. For those of us who have been here long enough to remember that. And there's a piece of ground there that the city owns that Michael Graham is planning to build another, I believe, 48 units. I could be wrong on that number, but similar project to what he's put up to the west of the Washington School building.
Yeah.
Now apartments.
Yeah, those Washington School apartments are really coming together. I was by there yesterday, and they're looking really good. And a good location there, downtown, near the pool. So I think those will go well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on downtown their area where, Dallas Hazelhorse has put in the Cold Stone Creamery, and he's got his STEM Harvest educational facility in there, and the Hayes Daily is located back into that building, at least the front of the building, and there's quite a bit of activity down in South Main. It should be a very active summer down there with Larks baseball and the swimming pool opening here, I would guess, in another couple weeks.
Yeah. And as far as the bond project goes, kind of going back to the US D49 bond, I mean, we're anticipating seeing the high school, which is really the biggest project, open in fall of 2025 if they meet their projections. But that's really going on for years to come because, once they get that project done, they have to do the old high school. They're remodeling O'Laughlin. They have the middle school that's going to be remodeled into an elementary school. And then once all that gets complete, they're vacating some properties and going to move the administrative offices into Wilson. So a lot of potential going on there.
There is a lot going on in that project, and I would say it's kind of like trying to fix an airplane while you're in the air because you're trying to run a school, you're trying to have classes. Sure, you do as much as you can through the summertime, but they can't do everything they need to do. And yes, they have to finish the high school so they can then move those students over there, redo the high school into the junior high, and then all of these other pieces. Roosevelt is well underway in terms of projects going on there. So it's a big, big project.
When they finish those projects, they're going to have a couple of locations that they're going to vacate, Lincoln being one of them, and then the other being the administrative offices downtown, the Rockwell building. Do you think that there's potential for a developer to come in and do something with those buildings or at least the properties?
I do. I think you can look at Washington as a great example of what can be done. I mean, the Overland Property Group purchased the Washington School building. They turned it into, I believe, 14 apartments, somewhere in that range. They sold the back part of the property to Michael Graham, who's now putting up 33 units. If you look at Lincoln School, I think there's housing opportunities there, and there's a fair amount of land that goes along with Lincoln School around it. And the same with the former administration area. A little bit tougher project, in terms of turning that maybe into housing or something. But we've been pretty successful in finding alternative uses for these structures. The old St. Joseph School, Justin Prajant turned those into apartments, and they're really cool. And I've walked through the Washington School, apartments, and they work well. It surprised me how much they still look like a classroom in a lot of ways, even the chalkboard's up in some areas. But in any case, they're providing needed housing, and I think Lincoln and the current administration building can serve that purpose. And potentially even the old Kennedy School building. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but there needs to be some alternative use for that. I've heard that they're going to knock it down, or there's other possibilities. So, yeah, I think we can repurpose a lot of these facilities.
I know the timeline was discussed a little bit on Lincoln School on Monday at the school board meeting. There are some legislative hoops that they have to go through whenever they're closing a school as a school. And the state actually has first right of refusal on buying a school property. That was recently changed in the law at the legislative level. So they have to have a hearing, and then the state has first right for it, and then they can put it on the market.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what all hoops they have to jump through, but finding a buyer and somebody willing to jump in there and do that, there are very few that are willing to do that, but it has happened, and I think will continue to happen.
Do you have anything else you want to add this morning, Doug? Well,
I might add, we talk about the economic impact of the actual dollars being spent on school projects and that type of thing. I think there's also a bigger issue or an opportunity in that it makes our community more attractive to people who may want to live here. When you upgrade your educational facilities, whether it be K through 12 or whether it be the university, it just makes your community a more attractive spot for people who want to go to school here, who people want to move here and raise kids. And so all of those things factor into this. So these investments they pay dividends in a lot of different ways. The immediate ones are the economic impact of the dollars that are spent and respent and people who come here and spend dollars. The long-term impact is that it's just a significant upgrade to our community and something we can be really proud of.